Hi, welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. And we have two things that we're going to talk about. Education, this is still education. We're going to talk about math. We're going to talk about words. But the key today is math. And we have one of the outstanding mathematicians here, Dr. Mary Johnson, along with Dr. Eugene Williams with words. But everybody talks about, math. They run from math, but this young lady here has mastered it. And really, when you get to it, you can hit this book that she has here is just outstanding. I tried, being a science major, I checked her out, and I said, wow, I wish I had this when I was in school. Welcome, Mary, to the Ed Brown Show.
Thank you very much.
And
I'm very happy to be here.
Good. And Dr. Williams, he's an old standby. Mary, now, tell us, how do you get away from the fear, the youngsters, of mathematics? Mathematics is everything. I don't care if you're baking a cake or whatever you're doing, mathematics come in. Yes. Welcome to the Ed Brown Show. Now tell us about this learning math. It took you how many months to write this book?
About 4 or 5 months.
About 4 or 5 months. Okay, begin with what it's all about and the things that a person, not just a youngster, because there's a lot of adults need some math training too.
Yes, that's true. Yes, I started writing the book several years ago, and I've done a lot of workshops with students, with parents, and plan to do many more because those that I present the workshop to exclaim that it really helped them to understand better.
Give us your background. People want to know where you come from.
Okay, I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, and I really started tutoring in math at about age 13.
Wow.
Yes.
Ooh.
So somehow word got around the school that I knew math when I started taking algebra, and I whizzed through Algebra 1 in a few months. So they took me out of Algebra 1 and placed me in Algebra 2. And there I was teaching the high school students, seniors and juniors, how to do word problems, solve word problems.
And you were still in high school?
Yes, in the 9th grade, learning algebra.
You were still in high school.
Yes.
And you were tutoring.
I was tutoring seniors and juniors how to solve word problems.
Amazing.
But it all started when I wasn't that interested in math until I took algebra. I was interested in writing. That was what I did. I wrote poetry. I wrote stories for the students.
That's how you met Dr. Williams.
Writing.
He's words.
He
loves words. So that opened the door.
Yeah, many years after all this, though.
Right.
But I wrote poetry for the Clarion and all that, and school paper, and I wrote stories. But I didn't think, I could do math, and I looked at math all the way through school as, okay, now we're going to do this, and everything was separate, Now we're going to learn this about math. We're going to do division today. We're going to learn division. We're going to learn fractions. We're going to learn this. And it all just seemed like a lot of separate stuff, but I said, what do you do? And the teacher would say, do this, this, that, and I said, oh, good, okay, I'll do that. So I did well in it, but I didn't see any connection with anything in math. Okay. But when I took algebra, I was so enamored because this book, and I wish I could find a copy of it, but this book started out stating that in algebra you have laws. And if you learn these laws, you can do all of algebra. And I got excited about that. I said, now I don't have to run and ask, can I do this in math? There are laws that govern everything in algebra. So I was very excited about that. So I zipped through the laws and I was doing everything in the book ahead of time. So anyway, that's what turned me on to math. And the word got around that I was doing, was good in math. So then...
So they were standing in line, say.
Not quite. But on the way to school, during the lunchtime, I ate in the cafeteria. Sometimes I brought sandwiches. I can remember biting on a sandwich and the student saying, well, how do you do this? I got a test. How do you do this? Help me, help me. And I never turned the student away. I always said, well,
that was in high school.
This was in high school.
And then this is before you attended college. What college did you attend?
Virginia State College in Petersburg, Virginia.
Okay.
Very great
Virginia State.
experience
Great.
there. I enjoyed it a lot.
Fantastic. Right.
And so
And
the,
then
the
you
myth
continue-
went on. The myth about my
Yeah,
knowing
but
math
you
went on.
continue to tutor.
Yes,
in-
I was a
in
math
college.
major. I was a math major, yes. I tutored for one of the honor societies, and I tutored students all the time. I worked for the professors. But for them, I just checked papers, but students would always come and say, tell me how to do this, tell me how to do that. So I tutored that way, and I tutored some of the children in the community. But I went on, finished that, and then got my master's degree from Hampton University.
Hampton University. Great.
And then went on a little later on to University of Maryland. I always wanted to go to University of Maryland because I went there on a trip.
You wanted to be a Terp, huh?
I didn't know. I didn't know what. I went there on a trip, on a school trip, and I said, "Oh, this is a
So you got your
beautiful
doctorate
school."
there,
Yeah,
right?
I said,
University
this is
of
a
Maryland.
beautiful school,
See,
College Park.
Right.
College Park, and so I finished that, and then I was offered to teach there if I would like to, but I said no, I want to go back. So I took a job as director of the Response to Educational Needs Project in Southeast Washington.
Is that right?
Because I really felt that I wanted to go back and help a lot of students who may not have someone who is really interested in their learning. And so I said, I'm going to go there. At University of Maryland, I loved it. I had a great
Yeah?
time. It was great. I was a graduate assistant. I taught classes there.
You
But
taught classes at
at
University of
University of
Maryland.
Maryland, yes.
Well, as soon as they found out how great you were, they said, hey, she's not going to get away from here.
Well.
Your high school, college, and your PhD. Right away,
well, I really
the
got an
professors, they noticed your ability.
I really got a degree in education. My advisor said, now listen, you're taking all these courses, but you haven't committed yourself to, are you going for PhD or
PhD.
EDD? I said, I don't know. I really didn't, I wasn't into all that. So he said, I graduated from Harvard. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, what was your degree? And he said, mine was EDD. So I said, well, maybe that's what I'll go for because I plan to stay in education. And math frightens enough people away. I'll just go with the EDD. So that's what I chose to take, the EDD. So anyway, I left there. I worked with this Response to Educational Needs Project. And with that project, it was fantastic because I was able to set up 10, at that time, math labs were not that prevalent. So my project was to set up 10 math labs because I believe 10, yes.
Well,
one in each school.
Is that
I worked
right?
with 10 schools. And what I was interested in doing was to bring the level of the students higher, much higher than they were, because these schools in Southeast were really struggling. And I remember the principal, Mr. Vandy Jameson, was the principal at Green Elementary School, and he said, Mary, listen, I'm really having a hard time with getting my math students. My math program my reading program is great. Scores are up, everything, but my math program is really struggling. So I said, well, that's exactly what I want to do. So I worked with his school. His scores went up on all standardized tests. I didn't see the standardized tests, but
Is that right?
I didn't care. Just teach the kid. Don't care about the test, whatever you give. So if you really teach, you don't worry about the test. But anyway, at that time I didn't. I just was concerned about teaching the students. I had, the project allowed me to set up a lab, put all kinds of materials in it. They gave me, it was nearly $1 million project.
Is that right?
Yes. So we set up the labs in the school, a lab in the school. I had I think I had 4 aides that I had trained to work with the students, bring them out of the classroom and work with them.
And all your aides were A students, right?
I don't know. They were selected before I got there, really. But anyway, I did that. And the scores went up dramatically. Then I worked with another school, Simon Elementary School, which was right across from Green, and another school. Terrell was around the corner. This was many years ago now. And then we had one program at Ballou High School. And Patsy Blackshear was my coordinator at that school. She was very dynamic. The teachers had to, the aides had to do a lesson in front of a panel as part of their interview process. Because I said, I got to see them teach. I can't just.
No kidding.
I can't just.
So actually the aides were interviewed and they
Yes,
had to,
they had to.
make a presentation before the
Yes,
panel in order to be selected.
Yes,
Oh,
Patsy
wow.
was dynamic. I think she
Yeah.
went on to be a great educator in Baltimore.
Is that right?
I haven't heard from her, seen her in a long time, but she was wonderful. And she was in charge of the Ballou Project. And we set up a lab there, and we did very good things there, and in elementary schools, and then we had Hart Junior High School.
Well, where do you start with these labs? Do you think they should start in elementary school with the labs? So
Well,
the
now they incorporate the labs in the classrooms and all that now. But at that time, they didn't have.
They didn't have
people
labs.
didn't have-
You
didn't
were the
have
ones
labs.
you're the one that introduced
Well-
the lab approach
Well-
to mathematics.
No, I wasn't the one that I introduced it in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
in this project. But in some cities, there were labs. There were
Yeah.
math labs. But I don't know that they were to the extent that we did. We had them 10 math labs, setting up 10 math labs.
And where did they operate from? Various schools?
Yes, we were in different schools. You know, schools I mentioned, Green
And how
Elementary,
did they
Savoy.
determine what schools you operated?
The project directors, those
With the
the
need.
managers over is the response to educational needs project.
Right, right.
And those directors of that project determined the schools. They
I see,
determined the
I
schools.
see.
There were schools that were not performing high in math.
Right,
I can
right.
tell you that, but I didn't
But
see.
the
I didn't
problem
see
schools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they weren't scoring high in math, and they had issues. So those are the schools they selected. And they selected me because, they heard that I had just finished the University of Maryland when I went there. So
with the
okay,
PhD.
let
yeah,
her.
Right.
Yes, let her go. Let's see what she can do. But the panel was not lenient on me. They were strict, and they asked me a lot of questions. And I went through. Several people applied, and I was selected for that program. And
Congratulations.
So I worked there
Congratulations.
until the end of the project. And then that's when I met Dr. Williams at
Oh.
the end of the project.
At the end of the
At the
project.
end of the project,
But he used words on you, right?
yes. At the end of the project, the project directors wanted a manual to replicate the process. And the way that it was set up was rather expensive because you had to have these aides, you had to, a director, then you had, I had to have aides, and I had to have, they were.
So how many personnel were involved in that, in setting up a lab?
We had maybe two in a school.
Two in a school. Just two?
And
They monitored the system, or they introduced the system?
They set up the lab. They learned how to teach the students. We tested them. I had a very elaborate, even at that time, I had a very elaborate set of objectives based on the school system's curriculum. And I set up worksheets and set up program sheets where we could manage the students as they mastered the objectives. So the aides work with learn to work with students on specific objectives, and until they mastered them.
All right.
And so I had all these forms and whatever to make sure we monitor the students' progress.
Well, did they have to qualify, or were they monitored along the way? And if they didn't qualify, they drop out the program, or
No, we didn't have anybody dropping out.
Well,
What
no.
we did was if they really had trouble with the student, then I would go in there and work with that student.
Oh, I see.
So
you were
I was all
troubleshooting.
troubleshooting and running around and making sure all the labs were working.
Do you remember that at that time I was working for a research firm?
That's what I was getting ready to say.
And,
That's how I met him.
I had a project from the National Institute of Education.
That's who funded the project that I did.
No kidding.
The director of the project
Congratulations,
said to me,
Dr. Williams.
you need to find someone so that we can replicate this model from DC in reading and in mathematics and in parent involvement. And so I went about it looking for that person. And I interviewed 3 ladies. I believe that all of them had studied at the University of Maryland, College Park, but I was only impressed with Dr. Mary Johnson. And I was impressed with her for many reasons. But first of all,
well, that's easy to do. When I first met her, I was impressed. You know, being into the scientific field, I was
she
impressed.
was different than most math teachers I had ever met.
Exactly.
Because she brought humility,
Uniqueness,
love, understanding, caring, but she knew her math.
Right.
Because I tested her from every angle.
Right.
And I knew that she knew her mathematics.
Well, the fact that she relaxes the subject to the point that they enjoy it. See, that's tough. You know, something that I don't like for you to be able to, have me master it through a system that I accept. Instead of sitting there, I don't know what's going to happen here next. I got this PhD sitting here. I might mess up. You know what I mean? But the idea is that her technique is unique.
Yeah.
And I don't see why the people in this area don't understand. And you've had this technique. It's all the way from the University of Maryland. I mean, this is nothing new that you're going to try out and see if it works. It works.
And the interesting thing about it, Dr. Johnson, there's not a project that she has initiated that has not been successful.
Right.
I mean, wherever she's gone,
right.
The
So Prince George's County,
phenomenal.
right here in Prince George's County from Clinton, Dr. Mary Johnson, we could use her in our system. Tell us now, let's get to the book.
Okay.
Tell us,
Right.
you read some items there that you use to relax a person. I use person instead of student because of the fact that all of us need mathematics.
Yes.
Most of us don't have the mathematics we need to even run our household. You know what I mean?
I know.
So just those things that you pointed out, read those off to me.
Okay. I always look to see how can I relate this to math, period, with the words and all. So what I came up with is what I call a formula for success in learning math. And my center is called Success in Learning Math Center Incorporated. So that is my center. But I have these 4 parts for my book. Add confidence. I spend a lot of time helping students add confidence. I have interviewed many, many students and found some of the reasons that they just did not have confidence. I know we don't have time to talk about it today, but they are interesting reasons why students don't have confidence. I'll just tell you one or two. But one student I discovered in talking to the student, because part of my program, the Success Learning Math program, is interviewing the students. So I always have an interview with the students. I talk to them. I believe in the interview process very much. I interviewed every student that came into my school when I started charter schools. Every student and their parent was interviewed before they came into the school.
Student and the parent.
Student and the parent,
yes. That's an important key.
Yes, because I need to know who I'm working with and something about the students. So a part of that interview was, what are you interested in doing when you're not in school? What are you interested in? And when I capture what they're interested in, and that's what I really focus on when I'm teaching them. For example, I will not mention the names, but I taught a very famous football player who has played for major leagues and everything. And one of the things, I did not know it when I interviewed him, but what I found out was that he was a great football player in his school. And so I was able to focus in on that to help him get interested in what he needed to know in math by talking about his play, how he operated on the football
I see.
court. He would say, on the football field, he would say, I just don't know what to do with this. I don't understand. So what do you do when you're faced with a problem on the football field? You're considered to be a great star. What do you do? He said, well, I think about it. I said, well, that's exactly what we have to do here. He said, oh, we think? I said, yes, and I'm going to show you how to think through it. And so he sat back, but he was such a dedicated student.
Yeah, but see, you
such a dedicated student.
You relaxed him, and then
That's
you
it.
related to some things that he's familiar with.
Yes.
And that made it easier. And how read the rest of
Okay,
those.
so that's developing confidence, and then I said add confidence because I want the math terminology in there.
Right.
Add confidence.
Add, right.
Yes.
You use terms.
Subtract fear.
Subtract fear.
Subtract fear, and how have these students, persons become fearful of math because they were taught it. That's the bottom line. They were taught it.
They were taught,
to
be fearful of
math.
No kidding.
Yes, some students, I can't go into it, but in interviewing the students, and
in your interview, you found this out.
They told me horror stories. They were not allowed to go out to for lunch, for recess, because, unless they knew how to multiply. They had to do so many push-ups if they couldn't do a math problem. All kinds of things like that, which created more and more fear because they couldn't do it. They didn't have any way to do it. They didn't know how to do it. Then the next part, which is very important, is multiply your efforts. The bulk of the book is on multiply your efforts because many students think that somehow you look up, if you can't look up and find an answer, then, well, you're just dumb. You just don't know math.
Yeah, right.
And I had to teach them, no, that's not true. You have
Confidence.
Yes.
He had developed confidence in themselves.
The confidence, and then you have to put forth effort.
Then
You
effort.
cannot sit there and read a problem and say, I can't do it. You got to read again and again and again. And I show them how to read math. So that's part of this, reading word problems, reading math. The way the student reads a problem gives me so much information about the student.
Okay.
For example, I know the time is running out, but for example, I had this little boy who he said, I can't do this problem. I said, oh, okay. Could you read it to me? So he read it, but he read it ongoing. He didn't pay attention to the periods, nothing.
Nothing.
So then I said, now let's see how you should read this. And we went back and read the first sentence. And when we finished reading the way he should have read it, he said, I know how to do this problem.
Yeah.
And then he drew a picture indicating how he did, how everything was related, and he was able to solve the problem. But that's very important.
That's very important. And just like Dr. Williams reading, he's dealing with words.
Yes.
His publication about words and what's associated with words. Quickly, tell us about that, Dr. Williams.
Words crossing across, word search on Michelle Obama. Now, I've heard the story that Dr. Johnson just told. Being her husband, we talk about education all the time.
Right.
Consummate educators. And she also helped with this book.
Yeah, well,
bring it into finality.
Interrelated.
Right.
The words.
Right.
You
but I just love to hear her stories about math because after I met her, a lot of other things happened in terms of math as well.
Right.
Ed. And one of those things is that she is the founder of the Washington Math, Science, Technology Public Charter High School, the school that Mrs. Michelle Obama visited in
Is
2009.
that right? Congratulations.
That's another one of her accomplishments. She has many.
Well, what we're going to do, we're going to have to cut this, and we're going to bring, just like I said, education. We're going to bring Dr. Mary Johnson back here on this because it's so much and so important. And all your educators out there, you know, these are things. Mathematics is the basics, and when you deal with mathematics, that's in your everyday life all the time, regardless who you are, how much education, you have to have the basic of mathematics. And word search, just like Dr. Williams said, this is very important. So Prince George County, all over, not just Prince George County, all over this area. Remember, get involved. You adults out there, there's a lot of adults need this course in mathematics, and it's so unique. What's the name of that? Portraits of the book there, Mary?
The
Hold it up there.
Formula for
A
success.
formula for success. The last one was divide your time. I had to teach
Yeah,
students how
and
to
this is the
divide their time.
formula to successful learning of math. Math is the basic for everything, and it's also the words. You associate Dr. Williams, he's talking about how words are very important. Putting them together is very important. So we're going to continue. We're going to have them back here next month. That's right, because we're going to feed you the basics in mathematics and in words. Okay, I want to thank you both for being here and continue the good work.
Thank
Prince
you.
George County's finest. The couple, Dr. Williams, Dr. Mary Johnson. Words and math. See you next.